This is actually related. In mapping ideology, you suggest that psychoanalytic theory can help provide the missing support of the Marxist theory of ideology. Would you outline how psychoanalytic theory can contribute to a more sophisticated understanding of ideology? And we ask this because the concept of ideology is very important to...
Okay, I can do it. Okay. First, I must say that I am now more and more critical of this thesis of mine itself, because you know why? Because in the history of Marxism, or of Marxist theory of ideology, and here I'm following my friend Etienne Balibar, who already made this point, you know that Marxism was in crisis practically all the time. And all the time the idea was, when the expectation, social reality didn't fit revolutionary expectations, the answer was often, at least with certain Marxists, sought in psychoanalysis. Yes, something went wrong, people were manipulated, their unconscious impulses were manipulated, so let's look for help. You know, this was Wilhelm Reich's solution. Instead of socialism in Germany in a revolutionary situation, we have fascism. What's to do? Oh, psychoanalysis will help us, anal character, repression, nuclear family, Oedipal complex, and so on and so on. I distrust this. I don't think that psychoanalysis will help social theory to resolve its problems. But how can it contribute? Let me give you an example. Again, in today's society, I think that it's practically impossible to understand how, again today in our post-ideological era, ideology functions without the crucial distinction between symptom and fetish. Why? Why do I mention this? Symptom is simply the old notion that we live in a universe of repression. That is to say, our everyday air that we are breathing is a ideological, generalized lie, and then the repressed truth somehow returns in symptoms. No. Let's say that you have a beloved person, he or she died. You try to repress it, not to think about it, but unfortunately, whenever you turn, something reminds you of him, of her. Like, I don't know, this person liked a certain drink, you go to a bar, you see a person drinking the drink, oh my God, again, I cannot escape it, it returns all the time. I think that the way today, in our so-called cynical era, even at the very everyday level, ideology functions, it's much closer to the notion of fetish. What is fetish for me? It's exactly, almost in a mirror-like way, the opposite of symptom. If symptom is the return of the truth in the universalized lie, fetish, I would claim, is the little lie which enables you to sustain the truth. That is to say, how would, in a way, I even have a certain admiration for a fetishist. Let's say that, what would be the fetishist way to cope with the death of someone close to you? You stick to some object, something that was close to that person. Let's take a pathetic, melodramatic example. Your wife or husband dies of cancer, but he or she had a pet, a dog, a cat. You stick to it. And then this object embodies the disavowal. So the paradox and the beauty of the fetishist is that you can then approach reality in a totally realistic way. You know how it is. You can. I'm not dreaming here. I'm speaking to a friend of mine to whom it happens. You know this standard story. My God, this was really a tragedy. You know this really. I'm almost. It's so traumatic that I'm almost ashamed of mentioning it in front of a lady. You know this proverbial. You are 23 years old, wife. Everything is happy. You are pregnant, and then you go to a doctor, and you learn that in 3 months, you are finito. No, and it happens. So this person, we all admired him. He functioned normally after the death of his wife. Not only normally, but he was able to talk about it. It was nothing. No, it wasn't. No, don't mention this to me. He discussed with us how it was. Everything functioned. Why? Because the denial, he had his fetish. The idea was, I can accept the truth because I stick to my fetish. And then it was, as I myself was shocked how life followed melodrama. Then at a certain point the predictable thing happened. This poor cat or whatever was run over by a car. He was hospitalized. In a moment everything disintegrated because, you know, he was no longer able to sustain the disavowal. But you see the nicety of the fetishist position. It's cynical, realistic. I can talk about everything. Nothing is repressed because it's a little bit of a lie which allows me to sustain the truth. Yeah. And I think that, again, in our cynical era where nothing is repressed, we apparently live we have realistic, cruel attitudes. I think that in order to sustain it, each of us has his or her small fetishes. Look for the fetishes. Look for these small lies which enable you to sustain openly, to confront openly in a cynical, realistic way the universe. This is more and more crucial. Even at a religious level, for example, I claim that one of main fetishes in this sense is what, ironically, in parallel to Western Marxism, which was a kind of a fetish of Western progressives, in the sense of, you were able to disavow really existing socialism, but still cling to it. So Western, I'm tempted to call it Western Buddhism. That is to say, the Buddhism today. No, it clearly functions as a fetish. In what sense? I'm very precise here. In the sense that I claim that if Buddhism or Taoism, whatever this so-called Oriental thought, I claim that if Weber were to be alive today, Max Weber, he would definitely write a book, The Taoist Ethics and the Spirit of Global Capitalism, in the sense that what's the basic lesson of these New Age Oriental wisdoms? You no longer, the lesson is don't even try to cope with it, the situation is too complex, just accept it as a game of appearances but maintain a proper distance. Be aware that it's all a superficial play of appearances and so on. Now, I claim that this attitude is a perfect attitude to survive the mad, accelerated rhythm, frenetic rhythm of today's capitalism without going crazy, going nuts. No, you always have this minimum of a distance. You can fully participate in the game, and this is what always amuses me when I read propaganda for these quick nirvana or what courses. They don't only say you will be able to withdraw in a spiritual island of peace. They also say, they're wise enough to add, this will enable you to function even better than when you return to the game. No? So here we have, again, the example of how this fetishist logic functions. So again, to get at these paradoxical functionings, I think that we need psychoanalysis more than ever. Just we should bear in mind that psychoanalysis is not at its most elementary this old-fashioned logic of hysterical repression. No, I don't want to know about it, and then it returns in symptoms. No, today we passed from symptomal more to this fetishist functioning.
This is a really excellent answer, and I think our...
Okay, so it's the second one that you told me it's an excellent, so I hope I'm getting credit so that then I can lower the level at the end. I'm recording, making notes. So, okay, let's go.